What is wrong with this? Okay, recording has started. Everything related to adding a to-do will be taken to one component, and everything related to displaying the to-do will also be taken to a new component, so that we are going to know that each component does only one thing. Each component does just one thing. So let's first create the one responsible for adding to-do. We can just call it add to-do. So let's create it const Okay, so we're bringing everything related to adding to add a new to do. We are bringing it here. So that means we are bringing these two. We'll cut them off. We'll cut them off. Then we'll paste them here. So these are the two things responsible for adding a new to-do. Next, let's get another component for displaying to-dos. So we're going to create maybe display to-do component. So let's create a new component. So say const So let's cut this from this place. Now bring it here. So we are displaying the to-dos here. Let's return it. So next is we can now bring the two to inside my to-dos. So I want to bring both the add to-dos and the display to-do, so that it's going to be exactly the way it was initially. So we can say bring in add to-do and bring in display to-dos. Any question? So it has imported the two, and now we have them here. So let's open up this space. Any questions so far?
Sir.
Yes, sir.
Sir, this my to-dos components.
Okay.
Can we also say?
Are we also?
Can we also say that this my to-dos component? Can we also liken it to our app component.
Yes. Yes, I think I said something like that yesterday. That I didn't want to touch the app.js. That's why I created this my to-dos components. So it's like your
Okay, sir.
app.js and every other to-do item comes there. So you are now importing this. You are sending it out. I'll move on.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Next is we have this to add a new to-do. And when you input your value here and you click on this button, you want to add a new to-do. But you know that the to-do you are adding will be needed inside this display to-dos component since you are displaying it. This component is adding it. This component is displaying it. But both of them are not inside each other. They aren't. So with that, we instantly we know that since we need that to-dos inside these two components, this component will be able to add it. This component will be able to display it. Then it goes to the apparent, right?
Yes.
Remember we talked
Yes.
about state lifting. Okay, good. It goes to the apparent. So the all to-dos will be inside this my to-do.js. So with that, it can easily send data to this and this, to the two of them together. So that's the next thing we want to do. So we still leave our all to-dos here. Where is it? We still leave our all to-dos here the way it is. Now we now need to find a way of ensuring that when we click on this button, we are able to add a new to-do to this my to-do to the all to-dos inside my to-do.js. That's the next thing we want to do. So let's do that together. So let's pass it down as props. What we want to do is this. Remember I said the owner of a state must be the one to change, to edit that state. So if you are going to add a new to-do, it must be done inside this my to-do.js since it owns this state, right?
Yes.
Yes.
So it must be done inside it. So this add to-do will still be here, but somehow when we click on this button, we now get it done. We get it done here. That's the next thing we want to do. So let's take it step by step. On input, you are calling on a function called user input. So let's lift this function. Let's take this function out of this place. Since we don't need it here again, we cut it out and we bring it to this add to do. So when we type inside this button, we can call on this function here. Then let's cut the variable user input out of this place also. It's not needed here again. So it's now here. So as the user types inside this place, you are assigning that value to my user input. Any questions so far?
Sir, please can you just come again, sir?
Okay. This what we want to do is as user types, we want to assign whatever the user types to a variable. So we have
Okay.
on input here, events. You are calling on a function called user input. Initially, that function was inside this my to-do.js, but it's not naturally needed there because whatever the user types is only needed inside this component, at least until you click on this button. So there's no point taking it or leaving it inside my to-do.js. That's why we took it from the my to-do.js and we got it to add to-do.js. So as user types now, you are assigning the user input to a variable called my user input. Just exactly what you did yesterday, but just that we are
Okay.
bringing this variable inside this component and this function inside this component so that you
Okay.
can get this as the user types. Do you understand?
Yes.
Now then, another thing I also need to warn us about is when you are using something like mine on input like this, on input, it's not really a good practice to uh, to take this value for instance. Imagine this is a state. Of course, this is not a state, but imagine this is a state now, and I now decide to leave this state inside my todo.js. I come again. Imagine this is a state, and we now decided to leave this state. What I mean is this. Let's comment this out, and let's bring in a state inside my to-dos. My input. So this my input. We now pass it down as props to add to do, so that the user types we are changing that value. Do you understand?
Yes.
Just imagine that as user types here, we are changing the value of that my input. It's a bad practice because as user types and that value changes, you will keep calling on everything here again. Look at this. It will keep rendering this. You don't want to render you want to reduce the number of times that you render your page. Do you get it? It's not a good practice that you keep calling on this part. Whenever the state changes, this part will be called upon again. It will run. That is why it's able to know that something has changed, and the HTML part is able to reflect to it. Whenever state changes, it's going to call on this. Let's say there's a state inside this my to-dos. If the state should change, then it will call on everything here again. Do you get it?
Yes.
So if you now attach it to this one here, it means as user types, it will keep calling this because the state is changing. If you attach to this on input, so to keep calling on it again, and it's a bad practice because imagine running this a lot of times. We only have 2 components here, but if you have 10 components in there, it will keep running all the 10 components. You don't want to run this part. You want to limit the number of times you run it as much as you can, as much as possible. In fact, that's one of the reasons why I decided to make this a variable and not a state. Since it's a variable, then it's not going to keep running every time. Do we understand?
Yes.
If this is a state now, as user types inside it, it's going to keep running this part.
Expanding.
Yes. So we don't want it to, as much as we don't want to run this part. If you can avoid doing that, you don't want to. So that's why we set this as variable and not states. But if we use state, it would have worked fine, just like before. Just that it will keep calling on that part again, and we don't want that. Can we move on? Shani Bere. Are we confused?
Sa ìbéèrè tí mo ní ni pé this return, sir, so I've come to understand that, so it's like this return here, so is it the user interface?
Yes, this is responsible for the HTML part. So this is a JavaScript file. So this return is responsible for the HTML part, the interface.
The UI.
Yes, it's responsible for the DOM. What is displayed on the browser? Whatever we put here is the one that is displayed on the browser, and you don't want to keep running it over and over again. So you want to limit the number of times you run it. And the only reason why it's going to change is once a state inside this component changes, then it will run this part again.
Okay, sir.
So again, also, if a state inside this component should change, then it will run this part again. And if it runs this, then it means it will run this again, and it will also run this again, since both of them are inside this component. Do we get it?
So, sir, yes. So what do we do to stop that occurrence?
Yeah, sometimes this is a good practice. Yes, it's good for our application sometimes. So in other instances, it's not good. For instance, if you change a state, you want the browser to reflect it. If you want the browser to reflect it, then it's a good practice. That's why we are attaching it to those things that we want to affect the browser. then we are using them as states, or we are setting them as states. But those things that, well, maybe you just think that this thing, for instance, a good example is this, my user inputs. This is not really, as user types inside this place, you don't want to do anything that will affect the browser. Like, you don't want to rerun this part since you are not displaying it. Let's say I'm displaying the user input somewhere. Let's say I'm displaying this, my user input here we are displaying it here. So maybe as the user types here, we want this to also be changing, so be getting the new value. Then we will use this as state. We change it to states, so that it will keep running this, and this will keep getting the new value. So if we want to display it here, then it's fine, we change it to state. But since we are not displaying it on the browser like this, then there is no point making it a state. Do you understand?
Okay.
We are only using it in our JavaScript part. We are not displaying it in the HTML parts. So it's fine, we can just leave it here like this and not state, since we are not displaying it here. Any question? Can we move on?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So when we type inside this place, this gets the value, set it as the value of my user input. Then when we click on this button, we want to call on a function add to do. So let's do that together. First, let's just cut this out since we already have the same function here. Add to do, add to do, add to do. So we cut this. I will copy it. We still need it there also. So when the user clicks on this button, it's going to create this new to do, but we can't run this line here. We can't, because all to do's does not belong to this component, right?
Yes, boss.
Showing you how. Oh, I think I'm only hearing it in Timo's voice. Please, others, are we still together?
Yes.
Okay. So we can't run this line because all to do's does not belong to this component. It doesn't. So we find a way of removing this line from this place. But what we want is, when we click on this button, create this object. But now we want to find a way of adding this object to our all to do's. We want to find a way of adding it to our all to do's. That's the next thing we are going to do. So we come here and create a function. Oops. We create a function called, we can call it add new to do, and this function is going to be a parameterized function. New to do, my new to do. Okay, so you understand what you are doing now? Give me a second. So what we want to do is this. When we click on this button, inside this add to do, it will call on this function. This will create a new object. Then this will now call on this function called my add new to do. This function add new to do. We will now call on it inside this place and pass my new to do. Like, we are going to, don't worry, let's quickly do that together now. We pass it down as prop. Is it add new to do now? What's now the function? Okay, add new to do. Add new to do equals to add new to do. Then okay, so let's see what happens. We created the function here. Let me bring it down so that we can easily see it. We won't have to scroll up every time. We created a function here called add new to do. We pass this function down as prop. The reason we are passing it as pop is so that we'll be able to call on the function inside these components. Do you understand?
Yes.
So here we are destructuring it out. We've talked about that a bit. We are
And you are
destructuring
bringing
it
it out
out as add new to do.
to do.
Now, when
Yeah.
you click on this button, it's going to call on function add to do. Add to do will create an object. Then it will now trigger this function called add new to do. To trigger it, then we are passing this new to do as a parameter to that function. When we click on this button, it's going to call on function add to do, which is this. Then we have an object. Then we are passing it as a parameter to function add new to do. Shall you understand? So when you pass as parameter here, it will now call on the function here. It will trigger this immediately and do whatever we have here. So whatever parameter you pass becomes the value of my new to do. Then it will now do this for you. Shows it down. Let's come again. This is the line that's causing the issue. We can't call on this line inside this add to dos. That's number one thing. We can't. So this needs to still be here. This line, it needs to be here. So what we are doing is this. We created this function called add new to do. Then we know that this function will receive a parameter somewhere. We are going to send a parameter to this function somewhere in the future. Whatever parameter we send to this function, help us to add it as part of all to do.
Yes.
Okay. So we're going to send a parameter to this function somewhere in the future. Whatever parameter we send to the function, help us to add it as part of all to do's. So, and this is the parameter we want to send this object. This is what we want to send. So we need to now find a way of passing this object as a parameter to this function. In order to make that possible, we are sending it now as props. We can call this anything. Remember, I told us earlier. This can be anything. This can be anything. So we are creating a prop called new to do, and let the value be this function called add new to do. So this is like saying, what you are doing is this. Give me a second. It's like saying, what is this? You can even leave it like, but it's going to make our code look even more rougher than it is. What I'm just saying is, let the value of new to do be this function. Do you understand?
Yes.
Yes.
So whenever we now come here, we want to get that new to do. So we come here and we say new to do. So we are destructuring it out. So next is this. When the user now clicks on this button and you call on this add to do and you create this object, next is you want to call on that new to do. Do you get it now? But there's a problem. This is new to do and this is also new
Exactly.
to do. So let's
New to
rename
do.
this to something else. I don't know. Anything. So okay, let me use a better name. Maybe my new to do or something. Aha. So my new to do. So no, we've done something like this also. We are extracting new to do and we are assigning it to my new to do. When we did object destruction, we talked about this now. Shall I not see?
Yes.
Okay. So we are destructuring new to do because we named it new to do here. Here's it. We named it new to do here. So when you are getting it, you still need to use that new to do. But we are now assigning it to something else called my new to do. So we are now calling on that my new to do and passing this object as a parameter to my new to do. Do you understand it?
Yes.
So it will now bring it here and assign it as the value of this. Then do this for us. Show to you. who doesn't understand what I just explained?
See, okay. Confirm.
So let's return this so that it will be cleaner. So we are done with adding new to do. I think, do we still have any to make anything else? No, we don't need to make any other changes here. The remaining changes are to be made inside this display to this component. So next is, let's
Sir,
go to,
sir, why is it that I, sir, from all your, sir, from all the, for the project you have been creating, sir, so
yes,
I observed that if you are using prof, you always use it on your custom component. So is it that we cannot use it on like Dave,
on
like on
name,
Dave, sir, the Dave tag or any other tag?
name stack.
No, sir. Sir, what I mean is you always use prof
Okay.
on any custom component.
Mm-hmm.
Sir, why is it like that? Sir, you don't use it on ordinary tag like the paragraph tag, the Dave tag. Sir, why is it like whenever we are using prof, we always use it on custom component?
Those ones also have attribute. This is more or less like attributes now. This is like an attribute. So the same way HTML can have attributes, I mean HTML tags can have their
Yes, sir.
attributes. Since we own these components, for instance, you can't just use any
Okay,
attribute
sir.
with the p tag. It is the creator of that p tag that will tell you that these are the attributes you can use with it. For instance, with input tag now, you can use the type. You can't use source with input. It doesn't make sense. Why? Because the
Yes.
creator didn't make it possible for us to be able to use source with it, but we can use source with image because the creator made it possible. In this case, we are creating this component, and since
Okay,
I'm the
sir.
creator, then I'll be the one to tell it those attributes that we can use with it.
Okay, okay. Thank you, sir.
You're welcome, sir. Now let's move on. Next is this display to this. We are displaying all to dos here, all of the to dos. So we need to find a way of passing the all to dos into this component. That's the next thing. So let's do that together. We can say all to dos equals to all to dos. So we are creating a prop. We are going to create a prop called all to dos, and we are saying the value should be this all to this. So next is, let's come to this place and get it as prop. So the structure hits all to this. So after the structure, now we can use it here. It's fine now. So this is going to work fine. Let's look at where we need to make changes. This will work fine. This will work fine. Next is these two functions: mark to do and delete to do. Again, this component does not own to do, so it can't be the one to do this part. Where is it? Where are we marking to do? It can't do this part, this line. It can't. So that's the next thing we are going to do. So we can pass this whole function the way it is. We can pass it down to display to this, so that we won't even have to adjust anything here. We won't. We can pass it just the exact way it is. We just pass this whole function with the way it is. We pass it down to this place. But we know that this function is expecting a parameter called index, right?
Yes.
So
Yes.
whenever we call on it, we still need to keep this in mind that, okay, when calling on it, it's expecting index, and that index will now be the one to help us to know where we are changing. So let's pass it down. Let's create a new one called mark to do. So we are passing it down. Let's come here and receive it. Mark to do. So when you click on it, you are calling on that mark to do. You are now passing this here, the index here, as a parameter to this mark to do. So whatever the index here is will be sent as the value of this index here. Do we get it?
Yes.
So we're going to, so this is fine now. Lastly, delete to do. You can also pass it down. Let's break it to the next line. It's getting too long on the same line. So we're passing that one down to yes. So we are doing this. Yeah. Any question? So we are done with this splitting of components. If you so wish, you can take this again to another component. This mark to do. I'll take it to another component. Now you know that anything responsible for marking a to do is inside a separate component. Question. The idea of components is that you don't want your page to be rough. You just want to limit the function, the number of things you are doing on that page. It makes it easier to debug. When you have bugs, it's easier to quickly identify where the bug is. So next is we want to bring in local storage. So that even if we close our browser today and we come back there tomorrow, we will still be able to see our to-dos, all our to-dos. That's the next thing we want to look at. So let's go.
Hello, sir.
Yes, sir. I'm with you, sir.
Sir, please, can you go to that display to do, sir? The display to do, sir. Sir, please, if you want to split that mark to do, can you just give us an hint of how to do that? How
I can't tell you, sir.
Going to look. Let's say you want to see that mark to do now, like you want to take it out of the display to do component.
Okay.
I can't say.
Let's say we want to take this to another component.
I mean, that mark to do, the button marking it,
Yes.
like line 8. Can you hear me, sir?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Let's take it, sir.
Yeah, I just if the time won't permit, I just tell us how it will look, just
How it will?
an hint of how it will look.
Me the brother.
I mean, how hello, sir.
Yes, sir. I can hear you, sir.
Sir, it's no longer there.
Oh, maybe it's network.
Yes, sir.
Let me just tell him to send it as voice notes on WhatsApp. Then
But sir,
yes, sir.
sir, I want to answer a question.
Okay.
So how this prof to do, mark to do, delete to do. Can you hear me, sir?
Yes, sir.
Sir, can we call it as one prof?
Yes, all of them are inside one prop. They are inside an object called prop. We are only destructuring it so that we can. All of them are inside prop. We could have written it like this. Let's say instead of doing all of this, we could have done something like this. All of them are inside these props. So, but the problem
Okay,
is that
sir.
whenever we want to do is we now have to call on props dot whatever we need there. This will be
Okay, sir.
props
Okay,
dot.
sir.
This will be props dot, which is not cool.
Okay, sir.
So instead of doing this, we are destructuring it
Yes.
out.
Okay, sir.
Okay.
So I think Jimo is back.
Okay, please can you ask your question, sir? Jim or cousin, please, are you with us? Uh, Let me just ask him to send it.
Hello, sir.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I can hear you.
Yeah, I'm with you, sir. My network is bad. I can just go on.
Or you can send it as voice note on WhatsApp. Or we can
It's
even
bad.
hear you now.
My network is bad.
Yeah. So you can send it as voice note, or you can even say it now if you're able to. Okay, so next is we want to bring about the local storage. So remember I said the local storage, okay. The local storage allows you to store items for future use. Maybe, like I said, for now, we're going to be it's going to be serving as our database for now. So the first thing is this. When adding a new to-do, whenever we want to add a new, where is it? Adding a new to-do. We want to add it to the one in local storage. We want to add it to the one in local storage. So let's do that together. Remember I said whenever you want to call on local storage, I said even though it is not necessary, I said we should use what? From the assignment I gave out.
So I say what?
I said whenever you
That
want
even
to
though it's not.
JT. Oh, so yeah, JT.
use effect, that you should use Axios. Like we want to mimic, like we want to do it as though we are getting it from the server.
Okay, okay.
Yes, as though, because in local storage is instantaneous, it's going to happen instantly. But the reality is, in real life projects, it doesn't happen instantly.
Instantly.
It takes time. So if you don't
Okay.
prepare for that, you might run into issues. So that's why, since we are not using a real database or a real server now, we are just assuming that we are getting information from the server. Do we get it?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay, so let's do that. In order to mimic that, we are going to use the set timeout. Set timeout. Can you remember how this works? It takes a callback. So what you're saying is delay this function by what? 1 second. Shall I want to see? We use this now in JavaScript, in vanilla
Yes.
JavaScript.
Yes, boss.
So good.
Yes, boss.
So we are now going to call on local storage here and say local storage dot set item. What are we setting? We are setting all to this. But remember, we need to stringify it. So that's all. What you're doing here is local storage dot set item. Go to the local storage, then set this item. Oh, so sorry, key and value. The first is the key. You can say so the first is a string, all to this. Then the second is a value. Okay, yeah. Local storage just set item. Create a key. call all to do's and let the value be all to do's, be this all to do's. That's what we are saying here. In local storage, create an item called, create a key called all to do's and let the value be all to do's. Any question? Show you one. Show you one. This is just to delay it for about 1 second, so that it's not going to happen instantly. Remember, when you are sending information to the server, it doesn't happen instantly. So I can finish me make him, then we are running this local storage dot this. Show you one. Please show you what balloon.
Yes.
Okay. So can we move on?
Yes.
For the delete to do also, we can do the same thing. Set item, do this. We are doing the same thing for the delete to do. Next is for the markers to do also, we want to do the same thing. Now you see that what you are doing is whenever to do changes, whenever this all to do's, whenever it changes lang, we function in now.
Yes, boss.
So whenever it changes, we keep doing this same thing again. So we can now easily undo that part with our use effects. We can create something called use effect and say use effect. Then you put a function here. So we now replace that here. This set timeout will be here. Then I told you that the second parameter of use effect is what? Okay, the second argument, use effect. Array of dependencies. So we're going to say all to do's. What we are saying is whenever all to do's changes, whenever it changes, help us to run this code again. Then it's basically change all to do's, then call on this. So with that now, we don't need to bring this here again. We don't need to put this here again. Then we don't need to do this here again. Shall understand that?
Yes, boss.
Once this one changes all to do's to change, it will run this code. Where's it? Use effect. It is going to run this code. If this one also should change all to do's, change by, it's going to run this code. Same as this. If this one should change all to do's, then this will run the codes. Do we understand it?
Yes, boss.
Okay. Then let's undo when the page loads the first time. We still have a lot of this to undo. When the page loads the first time, what if there's no to do again? Because remember, I can delete to do. Where is it? We can click on this button to delete all the to-dos. So what if there's no to do again? What should we display to the users? We need to do that also. So we still have a lot of things to do. So let's do them one after the other. Which one should we do first? Let's first do what if there is no to do. So we can run our conditional statement here. We can say, using our ternary operator, if all to do's dot, we put it in this. If all to do's dot length, if it's greater than 0, then do all of, do all of this from here to this place. If it's greater than 0, do from here to the end here. Else, display a div, and inside that div say no to do, or to do is empty, something like that. You have nothing to do. So let's quickly fix this error. This starts here, so let's close it. So we've closed this now. Then what else? Okay, this one. Take this one out of it. Good, it's fine now. So if the length of this, if it's greater than 0, then run all of this. Now you might be surprised, like, why are we taking this bracket out of this place? We are still within JavaScript here. Like, remember, this curly braces allows us to be able to write JavaScript. So we are still within JavaScript, all from here even to this place. So if we still call out to this here, it will still say it. Do we understand? This is still
Yes,
JavaScript. Kò tí padà sí HTML. If you look at it padà sí HTML, do we get it?
Yes.
Okay. So that's why we have to remove that curly braces. We are still within JavaScript. So if the length of all to this, if it's greater than 0, meaning that there's at least one to do, then it will run on this. Else, it will run this. You have nothing to do. So next is, what if we are loading the page the first time? You know, all things being equal, or normally this should not be there. You shouldn't have preset data, like everything should be empty. When you are starting the page the very first time, there should be nothing to do. We only put this there yesterday to be able to start something. Shall I understand?
Yes.
Okay. Oh, I forgot this new to remove this also. I think I'll use that to extend something yesterday. Okay, so let's empty this all to this. Okay, so all to do is starting as an empty array.
Array.
It's starting as an empty array. Then the user can add a new to do. Okay. Yeah, it's fine now. I think everything is set. What else do we need to do? I don't think there's any other thing for us to do. I think we are fine now. Yeah. So all to this is starting as an empty array. Then this. Oh, now there will be a little problem. The first time we run this application, this is going to generate a problem for us. Let's quickly fix that problem together. Now here's the problem. Remember this use effect. I said if it's empty, what will happen? When we explain use effects, to buy in particular low marshal.
It won't decode automatically.
It won't?
It won't decode automatically, sir.
Yeah, okay. It's going to run the code the first time you load the page. The first time Tabasi load the page and alone put them as stop. Now, but once we put a dependency like this, it will run it the first time you load the page, and if this dependency changes, making 2. Now, the problem we are going to encounter now is that if we leave this code like this, imagine I'm just starting the application the first time. Imagine that we are just starting this application the first time. Then it will quickly go to local storage and help us to set all to dos as empty list. Abi now.
Yes.
It's going to set it as empty list. Now we want you to do something else. The something else is I want to display all to dos as the page loads. We are only setting this to local storage. Lopada. If you are not getting the AU at hand now, I will explain it now. Okay. Imagine this way. We are storing this in local storage in order to make use of it sometime in the future. Abi now.
Yes.
After closing the browser, I want you to be
sir.
able to see all the to-dos. But we are only setting in local storage. There's no point in our code where we are getting it back from the local storage. Meaning that with the way our code runs now, we can add as many to-dos as possible, and all of them will be in the local storage. But if the user comes back, it will still be empty. It will still start with an empty array. Shall I understand?
Yes.
I come again. Please, Newsitimus,
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Boss,
are you still with us?
I'm
I've
here,
not been
sir.
hearing your voice.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
I'm just watching you, sir.
Okay. Now, the problem at hand is that if this should load, we said go to local storage and fetch it. But those things that we are storing there, there's no point in our code when we are making use of it. So it's as though we are just storing it here. The way federal government is storing dollars without using it, Nella, without using it. Are we following? We are just keeping it there. Go and be keeping it in local storage. Go and deposit it. Go and deposit it there. But then we are not getting it back at any point in time. So somehow, it is not useful in our code. Those things we are storing in local storage is not useful, because if I'm able to store and I'm unable to receive, then there's no point storing it there. Shall you understand?
Yes.
If the after the user might have gone, one the user should still be able to see those things those to-dos is stored
Yes, sir.
yesterday. Yeah, that's the next thing we need to set now. So we are going to do something. We are going to say immediately the browser loads the first time, go to local storage, go and fetch the to-do for us. So use effects. So we're not going to say coming local storage dot get item. What are we getting? To this. Then we need to JSON.parse.
This.
So go to local storage, fetch it, pass it, and let it be my all to this equals to this. Then now set it as set all to this as my all to this. Shall I understand? The page bars load. Remember, this is an empty array. So immediately the page loads the first time, assign a local storage.
Yes, sir.
Assign a fetcher and set it. But again, there's still a little problem that we still need to fix. The problem is that imagine I've never been to your application, meaning that there will be nothing like this in local storage. I've been now. When you see all to-dos, all to-dos will only be there if you've been in the application once. 30 setting back on it. Shall I understand?
Yes.
If I'm visiting your page for the very first time, if I'm visiting for the very first time, then there will be nothing in local storage getting all to-dos. Shall I understand? So this is going to bring back undefined.
Yes.
It's
To
going
be
to bring
empty.
back undefined, and you are trying to pass undefined. This will throw back an error. Then whatever you are now setting that error as the value of your
Yes, sir.
set all to do. So let's quickly fix that too. Let's fix that. So we can use our if statement or ternary operator, but let's use a ternary operator since we are used to it. No. We can now say if there's anything called I'm coming, please. I can't just get me. I need to quickly. Please give me some second. Let me send a message. Okay, let's move on. We can say if there is local storage dot all to dos. If there is anything called local, if the value of this is 2t, you know it's going to be 2t if it's not undefined. That be now.
Yes.
If it's not undefined, if it's not 0, if it's not
Display.
false, if it's not empty string, it's going to be 2t. If it is 2t, then question mark run this. If this is tutti. If there is something called all to dos in local storage, then help us to get it. Else, what if it's not there? Else, return an empty array. So this is what you are doing. If there is all to dos already in local storage, go and fetch the all to dos, pass it, and return it as the value of my all to dos. But if there is nothing in local storage, if this is false, there's going to return undefined, then return an empty array. Then that empty array will now be assigned as the value of my all to dos. Then you will now set it as the new value of all to dos. Shall understand? Remember, this will only load the first time your application loads. This will only load the first time your application loads. Any question? Shower pẹ̀lú mi.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, boss.
Okay. I don't think I can identify any other issue that we may encounter. I don't think so. What other thing can we encounter? What other issue? I doubt it. So we are fine now. Let's run it on the browser. So go to the terminal. Sorry. So npm starts. The reason I'm running this last, and this I didn't run it in the class, is that I realized that it seems it is whenever this is running, that this recording video starts skipping.
Oh.
So while we are waiting, go to the pages. Let me know if there's any problem. Shine bad and react.
Because of this class, if you have to go over it again, like
Is that?
see the video again. I'm saying like this class is like if one doesn't practice or go over the video again, it's just like if one doesn't practice or go over the video again, like
Yeah, there'll be a problem.
I
Yes, one
just
is
lose the whole thing.
yes.
Hello, sir.
Okay, are we together?
Yes.
Okay, so let's now see if it's working fine and if there's any bug we can quickly fix it. Okay, the first thing is let's add new to dos. So what should be our first to do? Maybe wait. Our second to do maybe sync. Next, maybe that. So we can let's mark sync as done. Good. Let's mark dance as done. Good. Let's undo it. Good. Let's delete the first one. Good. Let's delete the second one. Good. Let's delete the third one. Good. Now let's refresh the page again. And let's see if we deleted everything, sorry. So let's add new to dos, jump. So let's refresh the page. We still have jump, it's still here. Even if you close the browser and we copy this link and open in a new tab, to still be jump. I think it's working fine. Any question? Shani, any question? So now, our assignment. I will record the voice note of the assignment and send it to us on the group.
Okay.
Thank you very much. Have a lovely night rest. Enjoy the rest of your night. Take care. React.
Thank you very much.
Yes, brother. Thank you.
Can can I call you?
Yes, you can. You can.
All right. Thank you.